Hello, everyone. It's hard to believe that we are now at the tail end of our Unsung Hero interview project. So far, we've had a phenomenal turnout of truly exceptional individuals, and today's guest is no exception. Her name is Martha Friedman. She was nominated by somebody who said that she is a dedicated volunteer. And as you go through this interview, you will see that she has dedicated her life to volunteerism. The nomination talked about her two big volunteer activities with the Princeton Adult School and the Princeton Jewish Center, but we'll hear from Martha later on, telling us all the different organizations she's been part of. And she does this despite numerous health challenges that she's had over the years. So Martha, welcome, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to interview you today.
Thank you. It's so nice to be here, and I'm really honored to have been nominated for this.
Great. So we are going to jump into our questions. Martha, can you tell us a little bit about you? I'd like you to tell me a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up, how many siblings you have, etc.
Um, I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Youngstown, Ohio, which at the time was a thriving community, a steel town. It is not so now. My family consisted of my parents and my younger sister, and also I had numerous aunts and uncles who have lived there their whole lives also. Um, and I kind of lived a normal kid childhood.
No, normal childhood, but surrounded by a community of family, it looks like. So all your aunts and uncles, do they still live there today, or have they all moved away?
No, most people have moved away. The community is really not done well.
Mm.
And people have moved away. Yeah.
When did you move and where did you move to?
Oh, when I went to college at Ohio State, of course, and then I moved home for a few years, and I met my husband. I went to Florida for graduate school, and then moved to Manhattan.
Very nice.
I
And
lived
what
in Manhattan for a while, and then we moved around quite a bit until we settled in Princeton in 1990.
Very nice, very nice. So Princeton has been home since then.
Yes, very much so. I feel lucky to have landed here.
Wow. What did you go to school for?
I have a degree in occupational therapy, undergraduate and a graduate degree in pediatric occupational therapy. And that's what I did my whole career.
Wow, wow. And can you tell me a little bit about your childhood in the just the influential people in your life? Tell me, who do you remember as being the most influential? When did you start volunteering? Give me a little sense of that.
Well, I didn't start volunteering as a child, but many people in my family were involved in volunteerism. And my father, I remember very much so. In our synagogue, he volunteered quite a bit. And also in the community, he was kind of an entrepreneur kind of guy. And people would call him mostly to help out, I would say, that rather than a form of volunteerism. But I had aunts who volunteered in the library, at the senior home, in gardens, local gardens. And so there was a lot of volunteerism around that I always noticed.
Wow. And I think it's something to be said about children just viewing that and they're at such an impressionable age. So it's interesting to see that what you end up seeing in your childhood, you may end up practicing one day as an adult. So
I
that's
feel really strongly that that's true, that it's important for children to have mentors, for parents to mentor their children as well.
right, right. Can you give us an idea of where you spent the most amount of time volunteering? And I believe you're still volunteering at one or two of those today. So can you give us an idea of your
I
various?
am. Well, I'm still actively involved with the Princeton Adult School, which is a wonderful organization in Princeton that reaches throughout our larger community. And we're in person and on Zoom. We offer over 300 courses this semester alone. And so I've been involved with them for about 8 years. And I worked my way up from being on the board to being a chair of a committee and to the executive committee. And now I'm president.
That's amazing. And how many years of involvement so far?
This is, I think, my 8th year that I've been on that. And it's been wonderful. The people, it's a wonderful organization. It's full of volunteers. Everyone on the board is a working volunteer, as we say, who go out into the community, find classes to put forth to the community in our catalog.
That's amazing. Have you attended any of those classes yourself?
Oh, many of the classes. I attended them before, which also was a motivating factor for me to be on the board.
Right,
Yes.
right.
And I take as many classes as I can. I
And
fit them in.
is it only offered to people within Princeton or is it all over?
No, anyone, anywhere. It, you anyone can come in person, and anyone all over the world can come on Zoom. We have had classes where sisters who live in different countries decide to take a class together on Zoom,
Oh my
and
goodness.
that's what they do. And we have wonderful speakers from all over the world also
Wow.
teach on Zoom.
And so the board is actively putting together all of the classes that are being offered,
It's
also
a
reaching out to the speakers.
Yes, it's a working board. People use invite friends, neighbors, community organization, community businesses to teach a class.
That's
Yes,
that's fantastic.
so
Um,
it's incredibly diverse.
right. Um, what are some of the other organizations that you volunteer at?
One of the organizations that I volunteered at the longest is called Hadassah. It's a Jewish woman Zionist organization. I feel very passionate about it, and I became a volunteer actually the first year I moved in Princeton. I joined the board, and I've been on the board ever since in various capacities as chairs of different committees and as president. And now I'm communications vice president.
From
So that's,
occupational therapist to communications vice president.
yeah,
Wow.
there you go. Absolutely.
What do you think is your biggest skill set?
Well, I think my biggest skill set is working with people. That's really what I've done over the years. I, I until I became the president of the adult school, I really never did administrative work. And that was a challenge. It's a really positive growth challenge for me. I've enjoyed, even though it's been a challenge, I've enjoyed it very much.
Is there any organization that you've been part of where your skill set of not only just the communications, but your occupational therapy has come to the forefront?
Yeah, I was a volunteer for a number of years with CASA, court appointed surrogate advocate. That's it. And I feel that, my work uh, really helped me a lot to work with the children and with the families.
Do you think that that was one of your most rewarding as well in terms of, because
I
of
would I would say, and I've told this to many people, it has been the most challenging and the most rewarding volunteer experience I've had. Absolutely. It's intense and joyous. It was a really wonderful opportunity to use my skill set. Even though I wasn't working any longer, I had more time to do this. You really need time to put into something like that organization to be
So
able
I'm
to.
curious, how many hours a week would you spend on something like this?
Oh, I couldn't put it into hours. Sometimes it's more intense than others. I mean, you need to go to the courthouse to read all the records on the family and the children. Sometimes you reach out to the schools or medical organizations to get information to help you with working with the child, and also it's meeting with the child on a regular basis.
And who introduced you to CASA?
Oh, many years ago, someone spoke, Mark Levin spoke at our synagogue, and he was instrumental in starting the organization. And I was still working. It was many years ago. And I thought, when I have time, this is something I really want to do. And so I did. I did.
I think you're one of the first people I've heard and met who said they were going to do something when something happens, right? Like you said, when I have more time, and you actually followed through on
I
that.
pulled a trigger and I did it. Yes, absolutely.
Was it the first year after you retired?
Yes, it was actually. It was the first year after I retired.
What made you stop?
I stopped actually because part of CASA is going into the court and advocating for the child in the courtroom when the decisions are being made about disposition with the child. And I have a hearing loss, and it was difficult for me to really understand everything and follow it. And so I felt at that time I needed to bow out,
Wow.
and which was, I've had real mixed feelings about it, but I wanted to be able to be accurate and supportive in
Because
the
you
right
wanted to do
way.
right by the child, and you knew that if
Yeah,
you didn't
yeah,
hear some of the statements, jeopardize a situation that.
right. I enjoyed it and found it incredibly rewarding, very
Mm,
much so. I encourage people who have the time and inclination to do that. It's the best thing.
yeah. I wanted to ask you a question, which, for me, as an entrepreneur, as a solo practitioner, my life is my firm, and I have probably not an iota of time, or at least so I tell myself, which is probably not true. I tell myself, when I get to a time when I'll have more time, I'll do some volunteering. But I was wondering, a question that I always think about is, did you ever feel, you volunteered at so many different organizations, did you ever feel, you know, no matter what I'm doing here, there's no dent in, it's not making a difference. Why am I wasting my time? Did you ever feel like that?
Well, there's a saying that if you fed one person, you fed the world. So I don't think that's exactly right, but it's you do something for one person, it makes a big difference.
It's a big difference.
And I feel that you plant the seed and continue to volunteer, that there's so many rewards.
Wow. That's um that's a great answer. And I hope for everyone who's listening to this interview, they it'll inspire them to, just start somewhere. Um uh so related to that question, whenever you're down, whenever something, you know, feels defeating, what do you do to motivate yourself?
I garden.
Ooh, you learned that from your aunts and your aunties who were in your community in
Yeah,
Ohio.
yeah. I love to garden, and there's a lot of gardening opportunities, volunteer opportunities here. I volunteer at Morven Garden,
Yes,
which is so beautiful and
beautiful
such a
place.
peaceful and rewarding experience. You don't have to be a gardener to volunteer there. And also, many years ago, I became a master gardener, and master gardeners have volunteer for different organizations to help out.
Wow. You had said something about Princeton in particular that kind of intrigued me. You said when you came to Princeton, that's when you really started volunteering. Was there a group of, like your friend circle who are all volunteering? Were you inspired by that? Like what is it about
Well,
Princeton that
I'm lucky that I'm I'm friendly with people who volunteer. And so we kind of learn from one another. I have volunteered at Arm in Arm with a friend, and we did that for a number of years. And it was just a wonderful thing to go on a weekly basis and see the same faces over and over again, and kind of get to know the people a little bit, and really feel like you're helping because you are.
you know, you just inspired me, Martha, because I'm just thinking to myself, whenever I want to hang out with my girlfriends, we go for a drink or we go out to a restaurant. Why not go and volunteer? You get to spend time with them. You're doing something good at the same time, and it's a win-win for everyone. So I'm going to propose this to my friends group.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of opportunities to do that. No
Yeah.
question about it.
Can you tell us a little bit about Arm in Arm? You said that that was an organization that you volunteered at.
Makes, I think they prepare 2 meals a day, breakfast and lunch. And I volunteered at lunch. And there's always many organizations volunteering there because they need a lot of help. Food insecurity, there's so much food insecurity in our community. And there are many, many organizations who work on that. And another organization I'm involved with is um, it's called the Women's Alliance through Jewish Family and Children's Services, and they have trucks that go full of food that go to many communities at different times to provide food. And so this organization, Women's Alliance, helps to raise money to support that organization.
Beautiful. Uh, the last check of how many organizations you volunteered at, what number did you come up with? How many organizations have you volunteered throughout the course of your life?
I'd say there's about 8 of them. Yeah.
And all of these lasting for at least a year or so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I feel like some people said, "Are you still volunteering for this organization?" And I'm one of those people like, "Oh man, you got me, and I'm a lifer." Yeah.
We're done with the part of asking you about your journey and what you do. Martha, we have our rapid fire round of questions where I'm going to ask you a question and you can just answer the first answer that comes to the top of your mind. I might ask why, but let's start the game and let's see how you do. What's your first meal of the day?
Lunch.
Are you into intermittent fasting, or is it that you just don't get time?
No, it's just I just like to eat probably 2 meals a day, and I eat lunch and a late dinner around 7 or 8 o'clock.
Wow. And what time is lunch?
12, 1.
So after you eat dinner, nothing until the next day, 12 o'clock.
No, usually not, except I do snack on sweets occasionally.
You do have a sweet tooth. I was,
Oh, terrible.
do you like ice cream?
I love ice cream. When I go to a restaurant, I really look at the dessert menu first, so I know what to order because I want to save room for dessert.
What's your
And ice cream
favorite?
is at the top of the
It's the top of your
list.
list. So any favorite place where you get your soft serve vanilla?
Carvel. I
Okay.
love Carvel.
Okay. Okay. What is your all-time favorite book that you've read?
Oh, I don't know what to tell you. I love historical fiction, so I can't even give you the name of a book.
Historical fiction. Wow. Can you at least name one that you've just read recently?
Well, James Michener's series, that kind of thing. The
Mm,
long books that get into a lot of detail. I like that very much.
wow, that's pretty cool. And so these books must be really ginormous.
Long. Yeah.
How long do you take to
Something
read?
to really
Yeah.
sink myself into. Yes.
How long do you take to read uh each of these?
Oh, I take a long, long time.
What is the most favorite place that you've traveled to in your life?
Oh, so many. I've been so fortunate. Japan. We were just in Japan this past spring, and there were so many things about that country that I really enjoyed.
Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Both.
Oh my
I would
God.
say my husband is a night owl, and so sometimes I get just involved in things and end up staying up late with him. But I like to schedule all my appointments in the morning.
And
So
yeah.
it's important to get up and on the move. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. What is the one thing that is unexpected about you that people would be surprised to know about?
I I have always loved turtles since I was a kid. And a friend gave me one of or two of those little tiny turtles that you used to have in a plastic container.
Yes.
And I kept them. And my son was working at Petco at the time, so I kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger aquariums until they got to be about 10 to 12 inches in diameter. And so I kept them as long as I could.
If there is one age you could be forever, what age would that be?
I love the age I am right now.
I
I
love that.
really do.
I love that.
I, I'm fortunate to be very comfortable. I'm satisfied with my life. We're able to travel. Um, I have a garden. I love to garden. I'm able to do that. And I live in this fantastic community. You know, there's so many people that I feel like I've known over the 35 years I've lived here that um, I would never leave this community. And I'm
Wow.
just very grateful to be where I am at this point in my life.
That's fantastic. I'm always impressed by someone who loves the age they're in. That means you're really living life to its fullest. So I'm so happy to hear that. Um, Last question in this round. If you can go back into your childhood, what is the one advice you would give to your younger self?
The advice would be to be more involved in my community, to take classes, to build community, to meet others, and to start volunteering at a younger age.
Really? So start volunteering much younger, much at a younger age than you started. You waited until after retirement. So,
I
wow,
did and I did and I didn't, but I think if you're younger, you can do more physical kinds of volunteering than I ever did.
wow, wow. That's great. All right. So now we come to the legacy part of the questions, which is, I always say that, we're an estate planning firm. Part of what we do is create legacies of people. Uh, in this series, we are asking all of our unsung heroes, one, what are they most proud of in terms of accomplishments? So Martha, for you, what are you most proud of in everything that you've done? What is it that you're most proud of?
I think I've spent a lot of time here building community through volunteerism, especially in my synagogue, that I've done a lot of things to start programs to involve more people, and building community, I think, is just so important.
That's great. Um, and what is the legacy you want to leave in your life?
Well, it's interesting because I belong to a women's group, and we have talked about our writing a will, not to give things away, but to talk about the things that we would like to pass on. And I think the legacy would be um, building community through volunteerism.
And so would you say that that answer also holds true to this next question, which is if there was one thing you wanted all of us to do as human beings, one thing that we could do better, what would it be?
I think being kind to our neighbors not just our physical neighbors, but those around us, and be supportive and pull people in.
I love that. You inspired me right from the first round where I was like, I should really be volunteering much sooner than waiting for a time that
Oh,
I have more time. So this was inspirational. Thank you for all the good work that you're doing, and we're really, really grateful for this opportunity.
well, I'm very grateful. And this was fun for me, really fun for me to think about myself and where I am in my life. Thank you so much. And thank you for the work that you do also. It's very important.